Welcome to the Wedding Weeds podcast. Your host is Tracie Morris, award-winning certified wedding planner at her company, You're the Bride. Tracie has over 2 decades of wedding industry experience. She is a mentor, blogger, and influencer, and she shares real stories, tips, and advice with couples who are tying the knot. Tracie's team helps busy, engaged couples maneuver big and small details so that they can enjoy their wedding experience instead of getting lost in the details, which is much like getting lost in the weeds. Enjoy this episode.
Hi, friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Wedding Weeds podcast. I'm your host, Tracie Morris, and today we're talking about something that might not seem so glamorous at first glance, but trust me, it can make or break the flow of your wedding reception, and that is the seating chart. That's right. Where your guests sit isn't just about placing names on a pretty board. It's all about their comfort, the conversation they're going to be having with other guests, and creating an atmosphere where everybody feels included and happy and that they matter. So let's talk about it. Why it matters, what to consider, and how to make it work for both of you and your guests. So here's the thing. Your seating chart helps your day flow. It makes serving dinner easier. It keeps family dynamics calm because, people are getting divorced and you want people to sit, next to people that they're comfortable with. And it sets the stage for an amazing energy throughout the whole night. When people are seated well, they're going to be relaxed and chill. They're going to laugh more. They're going to mingle. They're going to just have a better time. They're going to celebrate you. And that's the reason they're at your wedding, is to celebrate you and your new partner. So yes, where your guest sits, it does. It absolutely matters. A well-planned out seating chart, it can do a lot of things. It's going to encourage great conversation and laughter. You don't want to sit next to someone that you don't necessarily know. So this can open up the door, though, if you've got somebody that maybe isn't too shy. But then you've got people that are super shy and, they're not going to break the ice. So unless maybe after a couple drinks, you never know. But I think it will really help if you've got, the couple sits down, maybe with the parents, the in-laws, and they all hash it out and figure out who gets along, who doesn't, and just really put some extra thought into it, because this is what's going to happen for that hour that you all have to break bread together. And then after dinner, then people can get up and mingle. So family dynamics, as you all know, if you planned a wedding, there's divorces, people, long lost cousins, people just sometimes don't get along. And we want to make them feel as comfortable as possible. So let's keep the peace in the family, right? It also helps your vendors, like the catering staff, serve the meals efficiently. If everything is very organized, we know where people are sitting. So it makes everybody feel valued and included. So when guests feel comfortable, they're going to stay longer. They're going to mingle more. They're going to enjoy the celebration. They're not going to be rushing home because they're having a great time. This is their night out, right? Hopefully away from the kids if they left them with a babysitter. That's probably a whole nother topic, is bringing kids to weddings or leaving them at home. I think that might be a good one for another day. Anyhow, so let's be real. This part can get a little tricky. So, every couple planning a wedding, they're going to hit a snag when it comes to seating arrangements. That's why I said, have your in-laws come over, because they're going to know the relationships of, the neighbors, the cousins, the aunts and uncles that you guys don't really know as well. So, I don't know, get a bottle of wine, have some dinner, sort it all out, figure it out. The great thing is we use a tool here for my planning clients, if you're listening. It's called Aisle Planner. It's amazing. Giving them a free plug out here. But inside our planning portal, we have a guest seating area where once let's say you've got 200 guests and you can put in the amount of tables, it populates it, takes your guest list that you've already pre-put in there, and you can literally drag and drop the names. Let's say you've got them at table 1, and then you're like, well, wait a minute, no, I really want them at table 6. You can move people around. It's actually fabulous. It's a great thing. Instead of, back in the old days, 1997, when I got married, you could basically get like a poster board, big sheet of construction paper. And then what I had to do is you'd get your seating chart from the banquet hall, and they would draw the circles in with, number at 1 through 18 tables. And then you'd be stuck on the floor for hours, ripping your darn hair out with sticky notes, right? You guys remember this? Think back. I know that you're 96ers, 97. you guys all did this probably into the oh gosh, 2000s up until we got this great software. But anyhow, what you would be doing is you would have little post-it notes all over the floor. You'd have to move them all over and figure out who's at table 1 and now 6, and these people don't like each other. It was a freaking nightmare. So thank you, Aisle Planner, for getting it together. We love it. Anyhow, it's amazing. So yeah, so invite your parents over, because you're going to have divorced parents, neighbors, people, like I said, that don't get along. There might be two groups of friends that don't mix well. And then you might be getting in like last minute RSVPs that's going to throw your whole table, layout off. Gosh, there's just so many things. I've seen it all in 26 years of planning, but it's okay. Take a deep breath. Your parents, they're going to help you figure out the relationships of who gets along and who doesn't. So here's my advice. Start early, okay? Be flexible, and just remember, nobody's expecting perfection on this part. You're going to do your best. You've got your support system. So take it. Don't do this one by yourself. When the parents and relatives are like, "Oh, what can I do to help?" Take them up on this. Trust me, you're going to want the help on this, okay? Now people are going to notice, a perfectly beautiful, envision this when you're at the reception, a beautiful table. They're going to notice the floral arrangements and, the candles and all that. But they're absolutely feeling it when it's done thoughtfully. So what that means is, the organization of the table, the seating chart, it's nice when it's all organized, okay? But let's be real. The seating chart is going to probably be one of the most stressful tasks among the couples when you guys are getting married. It probably will be. So if you can get through the seating chart, then you can get through this marriage, okay? But there's just a lot of challenges that I've seen as a planner in my many years of being a planner, because you're faced with so many issues. You've got blending families. There's, it could be your dad's been divorced 2 times, maybe 3 times. Your mom's been divorced twice. So you're having all these multiple families. You've got step families now. You've got estranged relatives. I mean, it can just make seating very tricky, right? And, then you got to figure out drawing the line of who actually made the guest list, right? How many people does your budget even allow? And then are you going to have kids? Like, there's just so much that goes into it. And then you've got your friends group, right? You've got, the bride's friends, the groom's friends, or partner one's friends, partner two's friends. They overlap. Some of them may know each other. They may not know each other. So then, like, where do they sit? You got balance is key. I mean, it's a chore. That's why I said grab some wine or some alcohol, because you're going to need it if you're a drinker. Then you've got your plus ones and people that are trying to smuggle in an extra guest. So watch out for those people, and last minute RSVPs. That could throw off your whole table count too. And then you're trying to like squeeze extra chairs in. And that can be a whole issue on the day of when you get these last minute people that just show up at the door. And that's a whole nother reason why you need at least a day of coordinator, somebody to manage your wedding, because you don't want people coming up to you going, "Oh, hi, you're the bride or groom or partner one or partner two." They're like, "Yeah, we're here, but we didn't RSVP, but yeah, now we want to eat and we want to, celebrate your day." And you're like, you're in the middle of your wedding. Do you really, you're the bride. Do you really want to go now try to figure this out? No, you don't. You want to be like, "See that girl over there in the black? I always wear black to weddings. Go talk to her. Her name is Tracie. She'll figure it out." Exactly. Because trust me, you're in the moment. You're trying to talk to your guests, have a little cocktail. You don't want to deal with seating arrangement issues because it's a mess. All right. So what else? And then you also got to think about this is a challenge. It's hard to please everybody. It is, but again, just do your best. You've got, oh boy, Uncle. What are we gonna call him? Uncle Bert. Uncle Bert is, he doesn't like a loud crowd. So he's not going to really like a wedding because it's going to be loud and you hired a band. So you might want to take him into consideration, put him in a corner away from the band. Then you've got your friends that, you want them probably by the bar. So maybe they want to be by the bar, and that's okay. Your work friends, they could be in the back. but by the bar. So you just got to think about all these little groups of people. Let's take a moment. And if you guys have not liked the podcast, I would love for you to like it, follow it, share it with your friends, anybody that you think might like our content. I would very much appreciate it. We are on all platforms. So Apple, Spotify, oh gosh, there's so many out there. iHeartRadio. Actually, one of our new interns, she actually brought to my attention a platform that I didn't even knew that we were on. And I said, well, let me check. And sure enough, Wedding Weeds Podcast was on there. So we are everywhere. So I really hope that you'll follow and tune in. This is episode number 7. We're cranking them out over here. Hey friends, have you ever heard about a Built Bar? Well, I'm about to tell you about the Built Bar. It is a fabulous chocolate treat, and it's actually good for you. These protein bars taste like a candy bar, and they will knock your socks off. If you know me personally, I'm out on social media always talking about the Built Bar. They are the best thing that I have ever discovered. And I discovered them one time on a trip to Arizona. And my friend handed me this Built Bar, and I had never heard of them. So I tried the coconut puff, and oh my God, it's amazing. These Built Bars are low in sugar. I'm talking only about 7 grams, low in calories, about 140 calories a bar, high in protein, which is what you want if you're working out, you're trying to lose weight for, a wedding maybe, any special event, or just to stay in shape, right? Because we all could use a little bit of weight loss in our life, trying to fit into those pants. 15 to 17 grams of protein. The flavors are amazing. Cookies and cream, cookie dough. We've got brownie batter, mint chip. Aren't you salivating? Yes, you are. Chocolate milkshake. Hello. Everybody's on the salted caramel train. They've got churro, mint puff. I mean, the list just goes on and on. But also, these have collagen in them, which is good for skin when you're getting a little bit older. But you guys got to check these out. I do have a special discount code you're going to be putting in at the checkout. YTB, of course, for You're the Bride. Built, BUILT. It's all together. YTB Built. And you'll get 10% off your purchase. I'll go ahead and put this in the show notes, but I really hope that you'll try these because once you do, you will be hooked just like me. Got to try it. Got to love it. They're amazing. All right. So back to the seating charts. We also have, you might want to consider religious attributes. Sometimes you've got people that might be, for lack of a better word, the holy rollers. They're very, religious. You probably don't want to mix them with your work family, right? You can just see that conversation going south real fast. So forget that. But again, just start early on all that and just figure out who's going to be sitting where, and I think it'll be a lot better. I think probably the best way to do it too is, I did talk about my aisle planner software, but of course, you may not be a client, but we would love for you to become a client, and then you get this software as part of the perks of working with us. But if you choose to go on your own, you may be that person that has to be on the floor with big poster board and construction paper and mapping this all out if you don't have another, software plan or a wedding planner. But if you are going that route and kind of, figuring it out, I would say split your list into zones, not names, like zones. So what I mean by that is before you assign your seats out and you're going to group people, you're going to do zones. So you're going to do like your family. So it's going to be much easier to organize this way. You're going to get all your family people together in one zone, okay? You're going to have all your college friends in another zone, right? And then your coworkers, your church friends, mom and dad's friends. It's just much easier to organize everything that way. And then you can kind of break it down into what table, and then, if you're going to do what actual seat they're going to be at the table. That's up to you. That's a whole nother ball of wax. Again, just try to take into consideration their comfort. Try to sit them with at least one person that you think that they could have a little bit of common ground with to talk to. That way the conversations, will flow naturally. So, and another tip I was thinking about was I'm a talker. That's why I have a podcast now. Well, there's a few reasons, but I would say you want someone that, you know, match personality so they kind of balance. You don't want someone that's so shy and introverted and it's going to be really hard to pull something out of them to get a conversation going. But maybe some people just want to eat and enjoy their meal and they don't want to talk to anybody. But it's like you're in a social setting, so you would certainly hope that they would talk to their neighbor, but some people just don't really do that. What else? So I would say also think about the view. Now, this is really important because I have had some weddings where as a planner, it's important that I'm doing my job and giving my clients the best. So I will get the floor plan and I'll kind of start looking at the name. Let's say, the client's last name is Smith, right? And I'll notice, and this actually happened at a wedding. Their name was not Smith. I'm just throwing that out there. But I'm looking at the floor plan and I noticed it was the brides, well, the parents, both parents. They were not sitting in the front of the room by the head table. And I'm like, well, that's not good. That's not a good look at all. The parents are going to be really upset when they get to the wedding and they realize they're way in the back of the room. Like they want to be up by the front of the room so they can see their children, at their wedding reception in 26 years, right? So I was like, this does not seem right. I think the bride just doesn't realize that she's got them not on the floor plan, the seating chart, floor plan, and all that in the right spot. So, I brought it to her attention and she's like, oh my God, I didn't even realize that. Thank you for telling me. She goes, my mom would have mom would have chewed me out, basically. So yeah, we caught that. See what I mean? It's always good to have another set of eyeballs, meaning a coordinator to look at things. We've done weddings more than one time. We've done more than one of your weddings. In 26 years, I've done over 500 plus weddings. So I've been doing this a minute. The value that I bring is gonna really help you. You're gonna be so happy that you hired me because I'm gonna find things that are going wrong. I'm going to stop them before they do complete the mission of abort. There's just so much and I would love to work with you. So I'm just trying to help you with some tips out here. If you like what you're hearing and you're like, yeah, I really could use some assistance, then let's schedule a consultation, please. They're absolutely complimentary and I could definitely bring you some more value on your wedding day. Okay, so tip number 4, getting back to the view. So we covered, Uncle, I forgot what his name was, Bert, right? Keep him away from the band because he's going to just come up to the coordinator, me, and complain. Can you have them turn that music down? You all know there's an uncle or a grandpa like that. No, sir, we can't have the band turn the music down. Like that doesn't happen. So that's a rough situation. Just think about where people are going to sit and do your best. Okay. Let's see. Also, let's think about, guests that may be pregnant. She's going to have to use the restroom more often, right? So you might want to think about having her close to the a door to get out to go to the bathroom, as well as guests that are, the older guests, sit them maybe towards the back, towards the exit where, it goes down a hallway to a restroom because they have to urinate more often. So just so it's a comfortable experience for everybody. Also, we have to take into consideration handicapped guests with wheelchairs, just accessibility so people can get in and out quicker and they're not having to like rummage all the way through the crowd to get to the restroom because they're going to have somebody that's like, if they're in a wheelchair, pushing them through the crowd. So just kind of put them by a table, by a door. I think that would just make the best situation possible. I think that would really help. Now, think about it. Let's flip the script a little bit. You've probably been to a wedding or two, I would think. I know I've been to a few in my day. Think about yourself as a guest. So put yourself in the guest hat shoe, the guest scenario. Now, I actually enjoy being a guest, but I'll admit I don't make a very good guest. And I know my wedding planner friends are the same way because we critique. We do. We're not going to lie about it. We're like, oh my God, why did they pick those linens? What's going on? But that's just how we are. Anyhow, okay. So think about yourself as a guest. You arrive at the reception. You go up to the table where all of the place cards or the seating chart, and you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna grab your card. You find your table, and you sit down, and you're just like, people are friendly, the vibe feels good. You're like, okay, this I think is going to be a fun wedding. You don't feel like out of place. You feel comfortable. That's just really the power of good planning, pre-planning, and it lends to, it goes back to the bride or groom or whoever put it together, the planner. And, the planner can't really do the seating arrangements. That we can give you these tips, and that's why I'm doing this episode, but I can't really sit there with you and hold your hand and tell you who to sit with who, because I don't know the names. I don't know your family, but this was how I could lend my experience in giving you the best tips possible to try to make it a little easier, because I know it is a daunting task, but you're going to get through it. There's been many guests though that will remember, they're not going to be like, oh my God, this was the best seating chart ever. They'll probably say, oh, this is really pretty, because you can spend some bank on these seating charts out here. I mean, some of these seating charts now are like, oh my gosh, taller than me, 6 feet tall. They're just like a mammoth centerpiece almost. When you walk in, they could have candles around them. One of my planner friends, she did an amazing, and if she's listening, she'll know what I'm talking about. It was like a bookcase. She had candles on it. She had cheesecloth. She had photos. It was gorgeous. There's so many things you can do when the guest comes in. It's all about the experience, and then guests found their names that way. The guests, the women are going to remember those kinds of details. That's what we like, most women, I would say. But they're going to remember how comfortable they felt at your wedding. And, as a planner, that's really the best compliment of all, because if we're kind of helping give ideas, guest experience and comfort, and that's what a lot of brides and grooms, couples, partners, they want. Yes, the day is about them, but I have so many clients that are just very thoughtful. They're very intentional, and they're like, I just want my grandma, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, my friends. I just want them to have the best time ever, and I want them to talk about my wedding forever. And these little special things that you can do, little touches, and just really putting thought into it is really going to make them happy, and they will remember your wedding. So from a guest point of view, a good seating chart, it feels seamless. They're going to arrive, they're going to see their name. They're not going to have any confusion of where to go. It's not going to be awkward wandering around. And also, myself or my staff, when we are working your wedding, we'll stand at the door by the seating chart, and we will help direct. Because, when you're walking into a huge ballroom, like, if you're over at the St. John's, the Monarch, where I work often, that new ballroom is huge. I don't remember the amount it can seat up to, but it's a large ballroom. So people are like, oh my God, where do I go? Which way do I go? Where is table 27? So we will kind of stand there with, we will have a piece of paper, like a diagram, or I'll have my iPad, and we'll be like, okay, it's over to the left or it's over to the right. So we will direct as well. So that definitely does help them. And then we'll say, okay, if you have a gift, it's over that table. And then they're always like, oh, I have to use the restroom. Which way is the restroom? So we kind of act too as the hostess a little bit to kind of get the guest in the door to their seat, and service with a smile. Okay, so I would say the biggest takeaway though for the day is just realize, you guys, that your seating chart, even though they're very pretty, you can put a lot of thought and effort into it. Like I said, I've had clients that have made things out of mirrors, seating charts out of mirrors, taken a big picture frame. They've taken small picture frames and hung them. The sky's the limit. If you go on Pinterest, you can do so many things with seating charts nowadays. But it's more than making it pretty and cutesy and all that. It's logistics and mapping it out right. And here's another big pet peeve of mine. All these Pinterest things, don't pay attention to this, what I'm about to say. All these seating charts, and if you're a planner listening, you'll agree with me, it drives me crazy. It'll say table 1, table 2, table 3. It's all by table number. No, Because when you go to a wedding, you have no clue what table you're sitting at. No, you've been trained to look for your last name is Smith. You're looking for the S's on either the seating chart, right? Or the little place card, escort cards, right? So I don't know why Pinterest is putting it by table number because they're not wedding planners, right? That's why they don't know. So I always tell my clients, they're like, well, that's how the picture I go, the picture is wrong. Listen to Pinterest on that one. Although they do have some really pretty stuff, just ignore that. So it's definitely more important to do it alphabetically because the guest is coming in looking for the A's, the B's, and so on. So that's the most important. It just really makes people feel like they belong. So, don't rush the whole experience. Work out all the details with your family. Like I said, make sure people are seated well. You just want everybody to have the best time ever. Okay. So I would say your seating chart is the silent host. It's going to make your guests happy. It's going to encourage connection, and it's really going to set the tone for the evening. So everybody is having a great time. So try not to see it as a headache. See it as an opportunity for curating, meaningful interactions amongst people that haven't seen each other in a long time. Because that's really what a wedding is. Like, let's face it. You're busy, everybody's working. The only time we really see people in our family, it's so sad, is weddings and funerals, right? Tonight I had to go to a funeral home. Like, it's so sad. Like, that's what happens. And you're like, oh, I haven't seen you since the last one or the last wedding. And that's how it is. So just let everybody enjoy each other's company. But I also want to thank you for your time tonight. But before we go, if anybody would like to be a supporter of the Wedding Weeds podcast and you make a donation, you will find a link in our show notes. I will be happy to give you a shout out in the next episode. I also have fan mail. So what that is you can send us a message and just let us know if you're enjoying the show. That would be wonderful. And you can also find a link for that in our show notes. And we would love if you would give us a 5-star review. And if you have any topics, you can also email us at Tracie@YourTheBride. That's Tracie, Tracie, at YourTheBride.com, yourethe.bride.com. And please remember to consider us if you are getting married or thinking about getting married. We do engagement proposals. I do complimentary consultations. I would love to set up a meeting. We do it by Zoom. We can make that very convenient for you. So we can get to know each other and schedule that so we can find out what your needs are. But we do the proposals. I'd still have room on my calendar to whip up a quick holiday party, corporate graduations. We could start working on that now for, May and June. We'll be here before we know it. Retirement, and of course, the beautiful weddings. So I would love to sit down and chat with you. That would be wonderful. But today was, I hope, very valuable to you. And you will hopefully learn a lot from that. But until next time, I am Tracie Morris, your host once again of the Wedding Weeds podcast, signing off. And thank you for tuning in.